Hi everybody, welcome to CDX 18, our first time in Manchester. Hopefully you're enjoying it so far. My name is Rebecca Chaplin, I am the editor of Car Dealer magazine. So we're going to kick off CDX with a social media platform that's become a really important resource for a lot of our dealers here today. Be that to connect with their customers, others in the industry, or to show off some special metal. Please welcome to the stage Cheryl Crowley. Cheryl is the client partner for Twitter in the UK, working with some automotive brands to help them sell more cars. Hi, how are you today?
Good, thank you. Hi, everyone.
So do you want to explain first just a little bit about what your role is at Twitter?
Okay, so at Twitter I'm client partner, and I look after a number of agencies in London, so PhD and MGMD, if any of you are familiar with them. And essentially I look after key clients within those agencies, which includes VW portfolio and also Nissan in terms of the autos, and then a few others.
So what would be your top tips to help dealers sell more cars?
I mean, in terms of using Twitter, I think the first thing is probably customer service. That's probably pretty key on the platform. You know, getting your tone of voice right, interacting and engaging with customers or future customers. You know, just making sure you've got that you're constantly on and constantly going back to questions, basically from you know future customers or whoever it may be.
So would you recommend that people have a dedicated social media person?
I think so. I think if you know, it's hard. Even some of the big brands don't have, you know, that community management to help them necessarily. But if you are going to be on Twitter or any platform, it's good to make sure it's it's kept up to date, it's current. You know, there's nothing worse than going to someone's profile and they've got a tweet that's been 6 months old. It kind of kills it a little bit for you. So if you are using social media, make sure you're regularly tweeting and keeping your profile up to date.
So Twitter's changed actually quite a lot. I mean, the fundamentals are the same, aren't they? But there's quite a lot of new functionality on there. Yeah,
definitely. I think particularly in the last 2 years, Twitter has changed quite considerably. And for those that use it, you've probably recognised some of those changes. So I think, we've clearly established now why people should have Twitter on their phone and why they should have it as an app. And that essentially is what's happening, which is the 2 words you're prompted with when you go to compose a tweet. And from the changes that we've made from the platform, so kind of setting our stall out about the fact that we are what's happening, whether that's in news, entertainment, sport, your local community, and then some of the changes that we've made to the platform, which include moments. I don't know if you guys use moments, where you can kind of pull a number of tweets in together and tell it almost as a story. So you'll often see that things play out over more than one tweet, and it's a nice way to gather all those tweets together. We've also got the In Case You Missed It, which is my favourite. So when you open the app in the morning, you'll have those accounts that you regularly engage with and interact with, and they'll be kind of be at the top. And we know that those are the accounts that you kind of want to see that content from. We've also got the Explore tab, so the magnifying glass, so making it much easier for people to search for content or keywords. And then we've also got the live element. So you'll have seen that Twitter very much made a play for live. We had a 9-hour stream of the royal wedding with Sky News, which was fantastic. And obviously, those kind of big events really do play out well on Twitter. But all those things, all those changes that we've made, they're not exclusive, but they resulted in Twitter being probably in the strongest place it's ever been in the kind of the 12 years since we've started. So in the UK, we're now at 28 million users, and that's latest Comscore data. And we're just seeing a real kind of re-energized, approach to Twitter, and people kind of enjoying the platform again and really understanding what it's about.
What do some of those new parts mean for businesses? I guess like the keywords is a great way to be identified.
Yeah, definitely. I think before maybe, we know that Twitter is a very fast-moving platform. And I think before maybe users found it really hard to surface that content that was interesting to them. Obviously that timeline is very quick. So with stuff like moments and the search feed, the search tool, and then also the In Case You Missed It, it makes sure that users want to keep coming back to the platform because they know that they're going to see the content that they've kind of signed up for.
Are people using Twitter for a longer period of time? Like, I know I definitely am. I don't even realise I'm doing it most of the time.
Yeah.
Are people engaging with it for longer periods of time as well?
Yeah, definitely. We've seen our dwell time increase as well as our numbers, which is fantastic. I mean, I think the average person opens their phone 110 times a day, which is crazy. I'm probably a bit more than that myself. But yeah, because Twitter is so much more, than just going in to see what friends and family are doing. It's not really about that. It's about you being in a discovery mindset and wanting to know, what those people that you follow, what they're going to kind of serve up for you. And you're never quite sure what you're going to get when you open your app in the morning. So people are going on there for longer. They're spending much longer on the platform because that content that they want to see is there. Yeah.
So what does that mean for businesses? How can they take advantage of that and make sure that they are surfaced in the right place, that they're seen by the right people?
Yeah, I think maybe with, the dealerships, think about your local community rather kind of than that national scale. So kind of, what your tone of voice is in your local area, how you can make kind of a difference in that. In 2006, when we first launched, it was very much based on an SMS service, which was why you had the 140 characters, because it was literally a text service that Jack Dorsey and a few of the other guys came up with. Whereas if you look at Twitter now, it's so much more than just text. It's all about images, GIFs. Video is huge now on the platform. We're very much a video-first and mobile-first platform. So just thinking about different ways that you can use those other things that can make that tweet stand out.
And I've not really delved into this, so I don't really know it, but promoted tweets, how can you reach the right people with that?
Well, with promoted tweets, obviously, tweets that everyone sends out are just organic tweets, but if you've decided you want to put some money behind them, you can use that within our dashboard. And within the dashboard, there's several different elements of, making sure you reach the right audience. So again, for you guys, it might be thinking about, geo-targeting. You can go as granular as postcode on Twitter. So maybe thinking about that element to make sure, you're covering off the relevant audience rather than having any wastage.
Do you have any examples of some brands that have done things really well on Twitter to maybe an event or a particular campaign?
That's a good question. So I think Audi at the minute, actually, one of my clients, there is sometimes an argument, is Twitter just there for people to use literally as a customer service and moan, which obviously people do like doing, but I guess Audi have got this really amazing chatbot at the minute that they've implemented onto Twitter. And you essentially just go through a number of steps through the chatbot. It takes you into your direct messages. And, it's whether you kind of want to find your local dealership, if you have an issue, et cetera, and you can just go through those steps before and then get to the relevant answer without having to try and, faff about looking for a phone number or... It's worked really well for them, but then they're also really good on the brand side of the business. They do some really exciting things. Audi are a sponsor of the BAFTAs, and recently they sponsored the BAFTA content that was on Twitter. So, obviously this is a big brand partnership, but the BAFTA content that went out, we had Audi pre-rolls before the actual piece of content. Audi cars deliver the celebrities to the red carpet. So that featured in the content as well. So it was just a clever way of them thinking about how they could market such a big event.
So it's not, I think it's probably an obvious statement to make, isn't it? But it's not just about what goes on Twitter. It's about backing up with those really great, exciting things that are going on that you can then share with your audience.
Yeah, exactly.
That's cool. So would you say there is any dangers for people using Twitter, things they should avoid?
Things they should avoid. I guess sometimes people get excited with hashtags. And you really don't need to put all of the hashtags in there. I think what you need to think about in that one tweet, what is it that you want that user to do? Do you want them to watch a video? Do you want them to click on a link? Do you want them to like it and engage with it and retweet with it? And I think as long as your messaging is clear in that, if you've got a video and then you've got a hashtag, then you've got a link, it's too confusing for a user to understand what they're supposed to do from that. So just try and make it as simple as possible. Try and stick to the one hashtag if you can. and yeah, make it obvious as to what you want the user to do within that tweet.
Is there sort of like, not a formula, but should people stick with a certain type of tweet or mix it up? Does that work better for certain audiences?
I think definitely mix it up. There's no harm in no harm in doing that. If you are doing paid media on Twitter as well, it's always good to have a number of tweets to see which are performing best, and then obviously you can optimise against those. Don't be afraid to use GIFs, and everyone loves a GIF. It gives you a good, you stand out. It's a great tone of voice. All of that's already in the platform. You don't have to go off and search for that. Use the. I looked at one dealership last night on Twitter, and he'd used a number of tweets with multi-images, which were customers that had bought a recent car, looking very happy, standing next to their car, and then the next image was kind of a quote that he'd got off that customer about the success of the deal and how happy they were with that dealership.
So does that actually work? Because I look at that a lot of the time, and I think, do people buy into that kind of customer service stuff? But I suppose it's the same as reviews on Google or on Facebook.
Yeah, I think so. And because they were so, regular, and it was quite a polished look, but definitely I bought into it.
That's good. I always think the same thing as well. I don't know if you've seen this, but sometimes people just post their listings on. I'm sure you have that in many different retail places as well. But does that work? Just the constant visibility of product?
Yeah, I mean, I guess it would be intrigued to kind of hear from the guys whether they found that was working or not. I mean, again, with Twitter, it's very much, people go into that feed, it's very fast, and you kind of need to stand out. So it might be that tweet at the time is kind of maybe missed in the actual timeline. But as I said, with the new kind of search feature, people may well be looking for a particular car. We find lots of people use Twitter to cover off a number of elements in that kind of journey of buying a vehicle, where it's using it for research and almost like a TripAdvisor to see what other people are saying about that particular car. They like following the actual brand, to hear about new features, etc. And then they also use it as well for kind of showing that intent. So, I'm going to buy X, Y, Z. What do people think?
So could car dealers almost use it in the reverse to identify potential customers who are in market in their area?
Yep, so definitely. I mean, with Twitter, we work with third-party companies such as Axiom and Oracle, and we can use that data to identify people that are going to be in market looking to purchase a new car. So that is always kind of available, and I don't know if anyone's kind of explored that, but that's always, obviously really good. I know we've got some new auto research coming out, probably Q3 for Twitter, but from our last auto research that we ran in 2016, we saw that over half of Twitter users are in market for cars. They're also more likely to spend more money on their vehicle, and also like to change their vehicle just because they fancy a new car, basically.
That's really interesting. Yeah. So, I mean, what would be your biggest piece of advice to any Twitter user then?
I guess it would be just to make sure, that you keep using the app. I mean, I guess that I feel like I get more out of it because I'm on it more, and you get used to kind of, functionality and features. It helps me with not only my professional side, like what I do for work, but also, keeping in touch with my local community, friends, family, watching funny royal wedding memes, whatever it may be. The more that you're on it, and the more, if you're using it as a business, the more that you're tweeting, I think you'll kind of reap the rewards from it.
I think this is a question that a lot of people here will have, is about how should you measure what you're doing on Twitter, if it's actually working, and what results should you be looking for, reach or followers?
Yeah, I mean, I think in terms of followers, that's kind of, I wouldn't be concerned about followers. Obviously, it's always good to have a number of followers, because when people arrive on your profile and you've got 3 followers, it doesn't necessarily bode well. But I wouldn't say that's kind of the be-all and end-all. It depends what you want to achieve from that particular tweet. As I mentioned earlier, if it's, you want them to watch a video, then you're just looking at the CPV of that video rather than how many people have liked it. And obviously with Twitter, you only ever pay for the objective that you want. So if it is a video view, you'll only pay for a video view. If people retweet it or if they like it, that's just earned media for you. You don't actually pay for any of that.
Oh, right, that's interesting. And so if someone out there is trying to measure what they're doing, would you recommend a particular way of doing it?
I mean, the dashboard gives you quite an extensive, overview of the platform, and then it goes back as well to making sure perhaps you've got a number of road tweets. We always say 3 to 6 if it is a paid campaign in rotation, so that you can optimise against those. I mean, with auto, it's really hard because, as I'm sure you guys are well aware, that kind of purchase journey doesn't happen overnight. Obviously, for us, working with CPG brands like KitKat, we can see kind of straight away if a tweet's had an effect with them going straight into a shop and kind of purchasing it, whereas obviously that journey for a car takes a lot longer. So I think Twitter, although we can't prove sales just yet, it definitely is playing a part in terms of considering what brand you should go for, looking at what other users are saying on the platform about that particular brand. And just generally kind of using it as a tool to kind of suss out what car you should be going for.
There are a lot of users on Twitter who don't really use it. They don't tweet, they don't retweet. So how do you engage with those, or how do you measure if that's actually being seen?
So quite often when I meet people, they say, oh, I love Twitter, but I don't tweet. And I don't, say much because I've got nothing to say, which is fine. We have 500 million tweets every 2 days, so there's a lot of tweets. Obviously, people like retweeting and liking, so that they're adding to the conversation. But when you think about these people who perhaps aren't tweeting, they're still a highly engaged audience, because from research that we've done, it goes back earlier to what I mentioned about the discovery mindset. So when people come to Twitter, because they're not sure what their feed's going to give them, they're very much leaning in and kind of taking in all those messages, including brand messages, which is brilliant. So although they might not be tweeting or retweeting or whatever it may be, they're still there as an engaged audience for you to speak to.
That's really interesting. So thank you for coming along today.
We
are going to have more Cheryl, so if you want more from her, we're going to be going to the Social Media 200 Awards, which are taking place in Cobden 4, where there'll be a Q&A with Tanisha from Armchair Marketing and Anthony from Reputation.com as well, so do come along for that if you've got any questions. And then at 11, we're going to have another social media panel back here on the live stage, so hopefully we'll see you then. Thank you.
Thanks.